Hey guys, Professor Bill, Comic Book University, and Thor issue number 10. I was really hoping for a tearjerker in this. In a way, I kind of got it. I mean, it's hard to write a father-son story without getting a guy to, like look around real quick. Ain't nobody here, ain't nobody watching, I'm not being recorded anywhere, and just. It's a good story. This wasn't quite that, but it had the tellings of that. Again, really good story, but I feel like it could have just been a little bit better. Well, we'll touch on that. This is called A Boy and His Allfather. Writer Jason Aaron, artist Mike Del Mundo, colors Mike Del Mundo and Marcus D'Alfonso. VC's Joe Sabino did the letters and production. Logo Jay Bowen. Cover art Mike Del Mundo. Variant cover art by Kerry Randolph and Maury Hollowell. So, and Thor created by Stanley, Larry Lieber, and Jack Kirby. All right. So, Boar, the serpent, if he ever becomes a serpent again, is sent off to go and spy on Malekith and see what's up over in Svartalfheim. As for Loki, it just goes and turns one of the ice giant nobles into a toad, a frog, and yeah, there's a cool story there. I enjoyed that. It was actually a cool story. Good insight on the ice giants. Malekith shows up a little bit, and we see that he's got some machinations for Loki, and they're not good. But the main story is just like what's in the cover. We're expecting to see Thor and Odin bond. Unfortunately, they didn't. They fought. They were beating the living hell out of each other with these hammers, man. Like, really bad, trying to apparently kill each other. You know what I'm saying? Just to that level. The fight actually had to be stopped. It got bad. Who won? Read the comic book. Read the comic book for a lot more. This could hit home with a lot of people. And anybody who's known your father, you know what I'm saying? There's some people out there who don't know your father, and sorry. But anybody who's known their father, you know the idea that there is a difference between your mom and your dad. You know what I'm saying? Your mom is your rock. She is that unconditional love. No matter what you do, your mom's there for you. In general. Okay, this isn't in general. This is like, boys are stronger than girls, and some jackass comes along. Well, not all boys are stronger than all girls. Yeah, I know, jackass. It's a generality. Are you really that freaking stupid? Anyway, in general, mothers will, like, you could assassinate JFK. Your mother would be the only person in the world seeing the proof and the video evidence and everything, talking about, that wasn't my boy, he was framed. That my boy would never do that. He's the sweetest kid on the earth. Like, that's mothers, all right, in general. As far as fathers, they're the unattainable, all right? They're the high-hanging fruit. You know what I'm saying? That's the conditional love. While your mom, you always know that you can go to your mom and she'll be proud of you. At the same time, it's like when you know that it's helpful and it's very comforting to know that there's somebody who's always going to think that you're the best, all right? But we still always try and strive to do what our fathers expect of us. And they do hang that bar really high because they expect you to be better than they were. And they expect you to be better than they imagine themselves to have been. Really important to remember that, for fathers especially. But yeah, there was some parts in here where I'm relating this to my, like with my own kids. There are times, like, I think that the best parents, not just fathers, the best parents are the ones who think, would this kid be better off with other parents? You know what I'm saying? Because if you think that you're the best and you're doing the best and your kid's going to be the best because you're the best and blah, 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 you probably suck as a parent. You know what I'm saying? I don't care if you do more things with your kids than I do. You know what I'm saying? My kids love me. And yet I still think I want them to have the best. You know what I'm saying? Any mistake that I make, I think, would anybody else have made this mistake? So when these kinds of things are mentioned in here, when we do get mad, I mean, it's important to understand. It's important to understand that there's a lot of, aspects about being a parent that suck. And I could tell this is just Jason Aaron, like, telling the exact same story that I'm telling now about his own kids, and his own relationship with his own father and things like that, You run into these kinds of difficulties where you you do get emotional. You don't want to appear weak in front of your kid, especially a son. Why? Because you're trying to solidify him. You're trying to toughen him up because it's a sucky world out there. It sucks. There's a reason why we say things like, nobody cares about your feelings. You know what I'm saying? Yes, we're making fun of you because that's how guys try to toughen each other up and remind each other that, yeah, the world does suck. You got to be strong or it's going to freaking eat you. And we especially want that to be, understood by our sons because, damn it, it's a bleak freaking world out there. It really can be. So when Odin is sitting there saying one thing with his mouth, with his tongue, and he's thinking an entirely different thing and saying things in his head like, don't say that. Don't talk to him like your father talked to you. Ah, man, that stuff just hits home, and it will hit home with every single guy out there, possibly even a lot of women. I don't know. I'm not going to claim to speak for women. Man, this just freaking hit home. It could have been better, though, I figure. Could have been better. I don't even think this should have necessarily been other pages. I just don't think that any of the other stories were really that crucial to be in here. The Loki story, I think, was pretty important because that was also a father thing. But anyway, I figure that it's hard to put my thumb on. The ending of the comic book, though, was interesting. Who shows up? Who Odin summons? Mind you, Odin's been talking to an Avenger over in the Avengers comic book, written by the same guy who's writing Thor. But that person doesn't show up. Someone else entirely shows up. And it reminds me, of another story. I can't tell you where because I need you to actually read the comic book to understand it. It's worth it. It's totally worth getting this comic book. But this reminds me of another story that was told showing how unbelievably small humans really are in the grand cosmic scheme of things, and how they don't have the right to be angry at the gods for that long. A little bit, sure, but only to a degree, because we are utterly insignificant. That was just one of the best comic books I've ever read in my life. So this ending reminded me of that, and I'm hoping we get something similar, especially considering what Odin's going through and what this other character has always gone through. I'm looking forward to seeing how that relationship works, as opposed to the relationship between Thor and his father. I'm interested in seeing Odin with this other person who is, in and of himself, an orphan. Anyway, guys, this was a really good book. I like I said, I felt that it could have been better, but actually put my thumb on where, a little more difficult than I'd like to admit. But it is what it is. Anyway, definitely go and grab this. Professor Bell Comic Book University. Class dismissed.